Hey y'all, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. In this video, gonna be giving you guys a special treat. Gonna be giving you my 2021 anime wrap-up. Things that I'll be including into this 2021 anime wrap-up are things that started in 2021 or things that were ending in 2021 for the most part. So I'm not gonna give too many things that ended like in the first 3 weeks maybe of 2021, but things that kind of finish off in like maybe March or end of January, end of February, you know, things like that. So I will be including things such as Black Clover, which was a long-running anime that ended in 2021, as well as Attack on Titan that ended in 2021, and Digimon Adventure. So I'll be starting off with those, and then I'll give you guys my opinion, you know, maybe 2-3 sentences or so. I won't ramble on too long because there's a lot of things that I watched this year, and I'll give you my ranking of the anime and whether or not I recommend it. So before we get into the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the notification bell to get notified for more content that I put out. And if you end up enjoying the video, please be sure to hit that like button, as well as leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on some of these anime that came out in 2021. So with a happy new year and no further ado, let's just get into it.
Let's just jump into it.
So first anime we're going to start with is Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 1. For the most part, I enjoyed Attack on Titan Season 4, and yes, I do read the manga, so I do know what was going to happen, but it was a refreshing take to get a switch from what we got for the first 3 seasons of main characters, switching to Falco and Gabby. The animation was really well done, switching from Wit Studio to the current studio that it is now. I think it's Mappa. The action scenes, the dialogue, plot twists, and where we're getting with the politicizing of the story is really good, and I'm really looking forward to what they do with Part 2 of Season 4 that's coming out in 2022. I can give Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 1 a 8 out of 10 ranking. Alright, next up we have Digimon Adventure 2020. Digimon Adventure 2020 started off pretty interesting when it first came out, and there was some delays due to, you know, don't really know what I can and cannot say on YouTube about it, but for the most part, it was really refreshing at first, and I thought they were going to be doing something really different, but the anime tended to get a little bit wary and slice of lifey, and I ended up not really enjoying it that much in the middle parts. You know, certain things started coming out of nowhere, and evolutions didn't really seem that earned in the series. I was really excited to get a reboot of the 1999 original series, but you know, this 67 episode anime is pretty meh. It's pretty mid for the most part, and that's why I can give it a 5 out of 10. I don't really recommend it. I think that you'll be fine just watching the Digimon movies that came out more recently. Alright, next up we have Black Clover. Black Clover has been one of those animes that I ended up enjoying a lot over the past couple years, and seeing that the anime too close to the manga was pretty sad to, you know, go through, but what they did with the final 2 arcs after they got done with all the filler for 2021 was really good, and it made me look forward to and jump started me into reading the series as well. I can give 2021's Black Clover episodes a solid 7 out of 10, and you know, I recommend catching up on the series when you can. Next up we have ReZero Starting a Life in Another World Season 2 Part 2. ReZero is another isekai, and we're going to be having a lot of isekai on this list. ReZero Season 2 Part 2 was really interesting, and Subaru grew onto me as a character, in which I ended up enjoying some of the other characters around him that I didn't really care about as well. For the most part, I can recommend ReZero. It had a solid ending, it's pretty well wrapped up, and the Sanctuary situation at first was getting old, but I started to enjoy it after a while. I can give this anime a 7 out of 10 for 2021. So next up we have Beastars Season 2. Disclaimer, you know, there's some people who are going to think Beastars is for people who enjoy furries, but it's much more deeper than that. Season 2 expounds on Legoshi's experience in high school and him being in love with, you know, Haru the rabbit, and trying to figure out Tem's killer from Season 1, and, you know, kind of going through life experiences of really accepting that he's a carnivore. Beastars continues to give, you know, character in-depth explanations that really are enjoyable, and, you know, they go deeper than most animes I feel like go these days. Beastars Season 2, I can give it a solid 8 out of 10, and I recommend it for anybody. And I know, some people are going to be like, oh, it's just like a Zootopia in a way, and I think it's a little bit deeper than that. Next up, The Promised Neverland Season 2. 1 out of 10. This shit is bullshit. I'm not even talking about it. Let's go on. Alright, next up we have SK8 the Infinity. SK8 the Infinity, I believe, was airing exclusively on Funimation when I was watching it, but it's an anime that was much more different than I'm used to watching. It was about skateboarding, and, you know, it follows our characters Reiki and Langa. Langa moved from, I think, Canada. He used to be nice at snowboarding, actually, not even skateboarding, but it easily translated. It was almost like something out of Johnny Tsunami or Brink from Disney Channel, and this anime was really well done. The animation was was pretty dope, and it gave me feelings of Food Wars in a way, in regards to like how over the top they, gave the skateboarding experience. For the most part, I could really recommend this anime. It's really short. I believe it's 12, 13 episodes, and for the most part, I can give it a solid 9 out of 10. All right, next up on the list for 2021 is World Trigger Season 2 and Season 3. For some reason, Season 2 came out way earlier this year, and Season 3 is currently airing at the time of this recording. It was just a later on in the year situation. I would have thought it would have been a part 1 of Season 2, part 2 of Season 2 situation, but it's 2 completely different seasons. And if you watch World Trigger already, the original anime kind of ended around 60 or 70 episodes. It had like a filler portion, but it's one of those shows that if you ended up watching back in 2015, 2016 when it first came out, you're probably still watching it now if you enjoy the series. For the most part, it's still stuck in the B-ranked war situation, and the fight scenes in this anime is really dope. I can't recommend it to everybody just because I feel like it can be a little bit slow paced and you feel like we're not really progressing that far, but I kind of have an endearing nostalgic, I'm just watching it because I started this so long ago situation with this anime. For the most part, I can give World Trigger Season 2 and Season 3 a solid 7 out of 10 for this year. Next up, we have a really pleasant surprise that I ended up enjoying because I was scared to get into another isekai, and that is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, Part 1 and Part 2. Mushoku Tensei basically follows another isekai situation where somebody was born to another world. Mushoku Tensei, what it does differently from a lot of anime that I watched this year that are isekai is it had a lot more character depth, and it really dug into how dark and how horrible it is to sometimes be placed in this new world that, is a fantasy world and some people would dream of it, but there's repercussions and there's a dark side to everything. And the way that they break a lot of isekai tropes that I'm used to, this really is a treat. I really recommend this to anybody who is into the genre overall. And if you got tired of the isekai genre over the past couple years, I still recommend watching this. Rudeus Grey Rat is an isekai protagonist that I feel like is the most refreshing that we've gotten in a long time, and I can give Mushoku Tensei a solid 9 out of 10. Next up, we have another isekai. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, following the story of Rimuru the Slime. Now, this is one of those, I guess, feel-good isekai-esque animes for me. Not really sure why I'm still watching it, but, I'm here for the ride. It does have some good parts here and there, but it's pretty silly for the most part, and it's really just one of those feel-good television shows that I watch. And that's how I feel about Reincarnated as a Slime. Reincarnated as a Slime, I can give a solid 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Vivy Fluorite Eye Song. Vivy Fluorite Eye Song is a really spectacular anime. It can sometimes get a little convoluted, but the animation is fire. It's A1. And the fight scenes that do occur, it's not over the top. For the most part, this is kind of a futuristic style story where AIs may end up taking over the world. And, Vivy, our main character, our main protagonist, it's her job to figure out how to keep that from happening. There's a little bit of time travel and there's a little bit of things that may leave some plot holes, but this is a really tight-knit story that doesn't even need a season 2. I can give Vivy's Fluorite Eye Song a solid 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Dr. Stone's Stone Wars. Dr. Stone's Stone Wars, continuation of the Dr. Stone story. Also another one of those shonen anime that do something a little bit different. It's really focused on science, and I ended up really enjoying season 2. It went to a place that I didn't expect it to go to. I won't give too much spoilers, but the inventions and the process and the comedy that they go through is always a treat. But there are some little plot twists that happen in the end in which certain characters end up meaning some demises that you won't be expecting, and I'm looking forward to see how bigger the story gets in season 3, since I feel like a lot of people really enjoy the manga. Dr. Stone's Stone Wars, I can give a solid 7 out of 10. Next up, we have the controversial My Hero Academia Season 5. So, My Hero Academia Season 5 covers the Class 1A versus Class 1B training arc. It also covers the Endeavor Agency arc, and it also covers the Meta Liberation Army arc. Not really spoilers at this point, but in the manga, this part of the story was really well done. At least the Meta Liberation Army arc and the Endeavor Agency arc. Now, I think all of us who watch My Hero don't really care what they do with 1B at this point, and I don't know why they keep telling us what's up with them. But it is what it is. That's what Horikoshi wants to do. But I think there's some style lacking in season 5, and the way that it paced, and the way that it catered to that My Hero Academia movie that was coming out, and the way that they rearranged some of the arcs in which they should have all aired. I can't really say that this was stunning. I do know that next season is going to be really good, and I do read the story, so I know where this is going to go. But I can only give season 5 a solid 6 out of 10. Next up, we have an anime that may end up becoming a cult classic, and that's Odd Taxi. Odd Taxi is not something I can really super get into because I don't want to ruin it for you. It's a short anime, 12, 13 episodes, I believe, and follows a taxi driver named Otokawa, a 41-year-old walrus taxi driver in a city who down to earth, pretty chill, but he's pretty cynical. I don't know. I feel like Otokawa's a lot of people's spirit animal at this point. I can't really get into it, but this is one of those anime that you really have to pay attention to the dialogue. Every minute counts. As some people who say, it is almost Tarantino-esque how every little detail in this anime gives you clues, and there's multiple storylines going on in this series that all converge at one point, and it ends up sticking and landing very well. The plot twist that you guys are going to experience at the end if you end up giving it a try, I shit you not that you guys are going to end up loving it. Solid 9 out of 10. Next up, we have 8686, part 1 and part 2. 86 is, your mecha anime genre. And for the most part, it's pretty good. It has a lot of really dark tropes. It takes on racism. It takes on the effects of war. And it just really has some good animation and some strong characters. Sometimes, at some point, you can feel like the dialogue drags out a little bit too long and the story gets a little bit too convoluted because you don't really know where we are and what we're doing. But for the most part, the series is really good. And I really recommend it, honestly. It has some really strong characters, some really strong themes, and a really good plot. And, this is a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Next up, we have Tokyo Revengers. Tokyo Revengers is an anime that I was loving this year. Yes, it does have, some semblances of things like Erased, but this is like Erased done properly, like done correct. I know the story is not done yet. I don't plan on reading the manga, and Erased was a much more shorter and condensed story, but Tokyo Revengers is doing everything right for that typical Groundhog Day kind of time travel to a specific day type of story. We follow Takamichi, who was kind of frail as a protagonist, but he's trying to find his way there. Give him OD Deku vibes. He's like in his 20s at some point, and he ends up dying and ends up time traveling like back to middle school, but he still has all his memories. So you can only go back to his fixed date in a fixed amount of years. He goes back and forth trying to find ways to fix his things and his hoodlumness as a young teenager or a young teen, preteen, and tries to find ways to change the past so that his future end up turning out better. Tokyo Revengers is an anime I recommend for anybody, and I can give it a solid 8 out of 10. Next up, we have To Your Eternity. It's a really hard anime to even break down, but there's just this being that has the abilities to take on the life and appearance and feel the emotions of other beings that it feels deep connections to. I guess I really can't ruin it, but this anime right here is a really touching story. Honestly, the first episode kind of made me tear up a little bit. I'm not even gonna hold you, but the main character Fushi is really endearing. It's a character that continues to learn, and it's a story all about growth and understanding human connection. To Your Eternity, an anime that I recommend, and I can give it a solid 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun. Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun is on in season 2, and for the most part, it's a pretty cool story. It's not an isekai, but it's a story about a 14-year-old boy who's adopted by a demon and brought into a demon world, and he has no powers whatsoever. He's a very nice kid who does everything that everybody asks of him, but the comedy in this series and everything that's around it and the characters in it, it's just funny. It's just a good laugh. I'm not watching Welcome to Demon School for the heavy plot. I'm just watching it just for a good laugh and some dumb humor. I can give Welcome to Demon School a solid 6 out of 10. Next up, we have another isekai, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. This is about a university kid named Suma who gets transported to another world. He ends up becoming the king of a kingdom, and he has to basically figure out all their finances and figure out how to get them to get their kingdom back into a joyous situation. I don't know. It's whatever. It's mid. It's mid as hell, and I can't really recommend this series at this point. I mean, I know this is a part 1 of season 1, and maybe my opinion will change from part 2 of season 1, but I gotta give this a 4 out of 10. Next up, we have The Great Jahy Will Not Be Defeated. The Great Jahy was a pleasant surprise for me that I ended up enjoying. The Great Jahy is an anime that is really just here for the comedy. The comedy really sticks its landing, and it's really silly. It's about, Jahy, who is part of the Dark Realm, and a Sailor Moon-esque character, a magical girl is the correct term, ends up coming there and destroying this crystal that ends up sending her and other people from the demon realm to the regular human world. And Jahy has to go through the trials and tribulations of regular day human life, of trying to pay bills, trying to have a job, being broke, and just not knowing how to maneuver life. And I feel like a lot of us can relate to Jahy. I can give this anime a solid 6 out of 10. Next up, we have a pleasant surprise. We have Digimon Ghost Game. Now, obviously early in this video, I said I don't really like, Digimon Adventure 2020. Digimon Ghost Game came out like at least 2 weeks after Digimon Adventure 2020, and my expectations were really, really low after how disappointed I was with Digimon Adventure 2020. There's 3 main protagonists with their 3 main Digimon, but this version of Digimon takes a much more horror-esque, villain of the week type of concept on the Digimon series. The people in this world, they have AI holograms, but sometimes there's faded versions of Digimon lurking around causing chaos in the world, and some people think that these are ghosts. And sometimes there's some really, really creepy stories and some really, really dark themes. Now, the protagonist in this anime is no different than any other Digimon protagonist, but the main core cast together and their Digimon partners and the story that's happening makes this a much more refreshing take on Digimon, and I think any Digimon fan should give it a try. So, Digimon Ghost Game, a solid 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Takt Op Destiny. Takt Op Destiny is a very creative series that, I was not expecting to enjoy that as much. This anime, without spoiling too much, there are monsters in the world where if they hear music, then they're gonna come there and attack it. These monsters are from like space and they land on Earth, and for the most part, Earthlings have been trying their best to not play music because this is what, enrages them. And, this is just a short story of how do we get rid of these monsters. Our characters suffer some loss. They want some revenge. Very Eren Yeager-esque, where they're like, you know what? Titans took everything from me and now I'm gonna take them all out. Takt Op Destiny has beautiful animation, great music, great references to a lot of classical music that we enjoy, and I can give this anime a solid 8 out of 10. Next up, we have the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated as an aristocrat. Another isekai series that, an assassin gets reincarnated into another world to do stuff because somebody has them on a mission to defeat a hero, and they start off as a child and then they grow up a little OP. The anime isn't done yet. It's still ongoing, it's still running, but it's just pretty mid. I had high expectations for it at first because this is a type of character who got reincarnated that we're not used to, but honestly, pretty skippable at this point, and I can give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Komi Can't Communicate Part 1. Komi Can't Communicate is a really, really endearing series about a character who has the ability to not be able to speak to anybody. She's not mute or anything. She just has a really, really hard time communicating with others, I guess after something that may have happened to her as a child. It's a really, really endearing series about how Komi has been trying to get 100 friends. She wants friends. She is honestly the most popular girl in school because of her look, but she does not speak ever. People just kind of fill in the blanks for this character until one character decides to come around and finally understands that she just has a hard time communicating. People think that she's kind of this ice queen, but she's just scared to talk, and she's really, really bubbly for the most part. It's a really, really cute anime, honestly, and it's kawaii as fuck. I recommend it if you're just looking for some feel-good television to watch, and I can give this anime a solid 7 out of 10. Next up, we have a pleasant surprise. Not ready for what this anime was gonna do for me. Going off the heels of talking about Komi Can't Communicate, who she's not necessarily mute and she's not deaf, so she can communicate. We get Ranking of Kings with our main character, Boji. Boji, honestly, I feel for this character. If you don't know too much about Ranking of Kings, and if you are off-put by what you've seen in trailers, by the animation style, I will say bah humbug. Like, you gotta watch this. This is really, really dope. It's not a heavy action anime, but the tropes and the themes and just the character of Boji himself it's really, really good. It's been a pleasant ride, and I'm really looking forward to getting more of this series. I don't want to spoil too much, but I can give you a quick synopsis. Boji is this prince whose father is a very, very almighty king, very, very strong, very, very powerful. And I don't mean just in political power. This is still an anime, so he's like a giant and able to do some crazy things. But Boji is deaf, so therefore, he has a hard time communicating. He's really, really small. He has the inability to even carry weapons. He's just, man, you just feel for this kid out of the jump. And he ends up making a friend called Kage, and we go through the trials and tribulations of Boji trying to grow up and, trying to reach his springtime of youth and find strength so that he can become a king, because he refuses to not become king. As much as everybody ridicules him in the kingdom, he refuses to give up, and he continues to be a positive, optimistic character in growth. Ranking of Kings, I can give this a 9 out of 10. I really recommend for anybody. And last up, we have Demon Slayer. So I'm going to talk about it in 2 different ways. We're going to talk about the Demon Slayer, Mugen Train arc, because that's what technically aired. And for the most part, I think if you're watching this video, you may have already seen the movie. The movie's a solid 9 out of 10, but the anime, they aired it as its own arc, and I guess that's okay. It was fine. I didn't really watch the anime version of it. I heard they added some extra details, but it's just the same story from the movie. So, like I said, the Mugen Train arc, 9 out of 10. Right now, we're in the Entertainment District arc, and so far, it's pretty okay so far. The animation with Demon Slayer is always A1. The intro, A1. But, sometimes I feel like the series can get a little overhyped because of the animation animation style covering the pretty okay story of Demon Slayer. So far, Entertainment District arc, I can give it a 7 out of 10. And you know, it may get better and this may not age well and I may be wrong. So please don't hold me on this ranking so far. So thank you guys for sticking through to the end of the video. I hope you ended up enjoying it. And if you didn't, I mean, I get it. It'd be like that. So that's it for everything that I've watched in 2021 and my thoughts on it, my little 2021 anime wrap up. Let me know your thoughts on these anime that aired in 2021. You know, whether you think my rankings are kind of shit and I don't know anything, or you know, if you agree, or anything that you thought I should have watched in 2021 that I may have missed. And if you ended up enjoying the video, please be sure to hit the like button. Also, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the notification bell to get notified for more content that I put out. And on that note, y'all, enjoy your life and Happy New Year.
I'm feeling great and feel the vibe. I'm really grateful we alive. And I'm feeling great cause lately I've been on the way to something great. And I feel alive cause I create like every day and I'm on to